This is why everybody thinks that tomorrow or Wednesday will be the end of the world. So this South African pastor had a vision and a dream. He had a dream where God appeared to him and told him that he is coming soon. In some of his visions, he could hear the sound of the 4 trumpets. He relates this to the book of Revelations, where trumpets are being heard or sounded before the end of the world. And people believe this to be real because the dates September 23rd and 24th align with the Jewish New Year, which some Christians associate with the end of time prophecy. Now, in his visions, if this all comes true, he warns of a demon that will come down just like in the movie This Is the End, chase and consume the remaining humans that have not been raptured. So that's all of you sinners. The pastor also mentioned these dates specifically were given to him by Jesus and God during his visions and dreams to warn all of us to prepare to be raptured. So if you haven't asked God for forgiveness for your sins, probably now's a good time to do it, but what do you guys think about this? This is why everybody thinks that tomorrow or Wednesday will be the end of the world.
So the rapture is happening tomorrow, but you may be wondering why. Why the 23rd? Actually be surprised that this is not new and has been happening around this time every year for the last 200 years. Back in 1884, a preacher by the name of William Miller convinced tens of thousands of Christians that Jesus was coming back in October. Most of these predictions fall late September, mid-October. There's a reason. We could talk about it if you want, but anyway, that didn't happen, obviously. And so that movement is now known as the Great Disappointment, which, big L. And despite the name, you'll probably be surprised to hear that over 30 million people worldwide follow religions descended from that movement, including a lot of your favorite death cults from the 80s and 90s that were either direct descendants of this movement or inspired by the general vibe and structure of this movement. How, you might ask? Well, even though a lot of people faded away, which would be the logical thing to do, these movements employ 2 strategies to keep people hooked. One, the more obvious one, push the date, which will probably end up sometime mid-October, probably for this particular incident. Or the second one, push it invisible. So the rapture happened on that day, but it just happened in our hearts. And then the cycle repeats.
No, we will not get another warning, as the world not only has only a few days left on the clock, but God is already here, and repenting now is way too late. People were terrified after South African pastor Joshua Malakala warned of an eerie omen to happen on September 23rd. And when we hear the Jewish Feast of the Trumpets play, there will be no corner on earth you can hide. Citing verses from Matthew 24:6-7 and Mark 13:7-8 that speaks of wars, rumors of wars, nation rising against nations, kingdoms against kingdoms, alongside famine and earthquakes, and people have already started preparing for it. Haunting videos show people throwing out their clothes, selling their homes and cars, quitting their jobs, saying they will no longer need their belongings very soon, to many developing mass hysteria, laughing and rejoicing, saying they will finally get to be with the ones they love. With many religious experts giving instructions on what to do when getting raptured, what signs to look for, and many others yelling they wish it could come faster. However, other religious experts cite the Bible actually tells us we won't know the actual rapture date, and this pastor might just want attention. No, we will not get another warning, as the world not only has...
Confusion creeps in. Restlessness grows. The routines that once dulled the ache now feel hollow, tasteless, and yet stepping forward feels terrifying, because it demands a death of what once defined you. For some, this tension will manifest emotionally. Sudden bursts of sadness, frustration, or emptiness with no visible trigger. For others, it takes root in the body, exhaustion that doesn't match physical activity, or nervous energy that keeps sleep impossible. These aren't random symptoms. They are the collision of 2 realities within the same frame of existence. And the longer someone resists the split, the heavier the strain becomes. But here's the secret. None of this is punishment. It's an initiation. The discomfort itself is proof that the old framework is expired. The tension is the universe whispering, this no longer belongs to you. The walls pressing in are not crushing you. They're collapsing what you were never meant to carry forward. Surrender doesn't mean weakness. It means turning your face toward the current that has been waiting for you all along. If you've felt unsettled, torn between craving the unknown and clinging to the familiar, understand this. You are not broken. You are crossing. The weight, the unease, the sense that life doesn't fit anymore. This is the sound of the shell cracking. And the moment you stop fighting, everything changes. What felt like suffocation becomes breath. What looked like loss becomes lightness. The equinox's hidden gift is precisely this. It forces you to stop standing between doors. It demands a choice, but in doing so, it rescues you from limbo. This is why being surrounded by crowds right now can feel dangerous. Collective vibrations collide in ways that overwhelm your personal frequency. Light and dark are walking side by side in the same spaces, blending, pulling at one another. If you immerse yourself in the noise of the masses, your field weakens, and you risk slipping back into what you've just been freed from. Protect your solitude, protect your space, protect the fragile glow of this rebirth. The universe does not forget those who gave without return, those who endured invisibility while carrying light. The rapture of this equinox is not only a test, it is also a correction, a payout, a redistribution of spiritual weight. Those who carried truth quietly are no longer muffled. Their presence rearranges a room. Their energy bends the air. Their silence is louder than the shouting of the world. And this is only the beginning. From this day forward, the chosen ones can no longer be hidden. The equinox has tilted the scales, and everything that follows will reveal who has the courage to walk in the new light and who will cling to shadows that cannot last. For years, many of you have carried invisible weight. You gave when nobody gave back. You stood tall when no one offered support. You fought battles in silence while the world looked away. Your sacrifices often felt wasted, unseen, unrewarded. But today, the scales tilt. The equinox has called in what was owed. Think of every tear, every sleepless night, every moment you chose truth over convenience. None of it disappeared. It all accumulated like interest in an unseen account. And today, the vault has cracked open. The equinox has released what has been stored. This release is not vague or symbolic. It arrives in the form of alignments, opportunities, breakthroughs, and sudden openings that tilt life in your favor. At first, it may come as subtle signs. A conversation that carries unexpected weight, a small door swinging open where it was sealed shut, a moment where what once resisted you suddenly gives way. Then larger waves will follow. Recognition, vindication, momentum that reminds you nothing you endured was wasted. This isn't revenge, it's restoration. The equinox doesn't punish on your behalf. It magnifies you until denial is impossible. Your scars have become credentials. Your endurance is now proof you are ready. What once weakened you has hardened into spiritual authority. And the most important truth, this change is not temporary. Once the shift begins, it cannot be rolled back. Your unseen season has ended. The season of being seen has begun. But here lies the urgency. The equinox is not an endless portal. Twice a year, the axis of the Earth balances perfectly. For just a few hours, the tilt ceases. Light and dark hang in exact equilibrium. That pause is not just symbolic, it's mechanical. It is a doorway in the architecture of time itself. If you step through it consciously, you access alignments unavailable on ordinary days. If you miss it, the door shuts and will not reopen for 6 months. And in this world, 6 months is a lifetime. Think of everything that changes in half a year. Relationships unravel, opportunities vanish, paths shift. That is why this moment matters. Confusion creeps in. Restlessness grows.
Now, this is the young man that has been openly expressing about the rapture coming on the 23rd, and giving his opinion about it. And like I said last night, I made a mistake and said it was going to be on the 24th, right? But what they're saying is it's going to be on the 23rd. I was tired, I was ready to go to bed, and something told me to make the video on this rapture situation before I went to bed, because of the fact that many people are deceiving the world. So I went down his page, and he's the one that sold his car because of the rapture. He's also have been talking heavily to his followers about the rapture coming, and there are so many people that just believe this guy, right? He's also come to the point where he's just like, I've seen a lot of doves here lately, and those that are following him are like, well, I've seen doves too. Like, is this a coincidence? So you have a lot of people that are following him, that are believing in him, and like I've told you before, these type of people,
So the Christian side of TikTok thinks the rapture is coming.
Me and Max are ready for the rapture.
I went on the Christian side of TikTok, so you didn't have to.
I truly believe with all my heart we will be raptured during Feast of Trumpets this year.
That's right. Jesus is back, baby. So where did this message come from, and how did we get to the rapture? Well, there was a podcast that came out with a man named Joshua.
Rapture is upon us. The rapture is so upon us that if you are not ready for it, it is ready for you.
Who you think, oh, it's a pastor, he's a man of the Lord. No, he's just a regular guy.
I'm just a simple person. I'm not an apostle, I'm not a pastor, I'm not a bishop.
And so what's happening on TikTok? People are actually losing their minds.
Okay, guys, just keep calm, take a deep breath.
And the Christian side of TikTok took this very literally because this only occurs to the devoted. One woman was also pissed off that it landed on her birthday after 2,000 years.
So I just heard that the fucking rapture is on the...
I thought this was all satirical, but turns out people are genuinely in panic about their possessions, their pets. People are selling their cars.
I won't need her.
What exactly is the rapture? Well, apparently Jesus will descend from heaven, sweeping up all the devoted Christians and taking them with him. Tomorrow. I shouldn't laugh. This isn't the first time this has been mentioned before. There's been previous years where they've said the rapture is coming, and I'll tell you what, the world kept spinning. I wish I could be this delusional about literally anything. But will it actually happen? Well, I'm in Australia, so I'll let you know. I will keep an eye out if I do see anyone getting airlifted into the sky. Remember the...
Hey everybody, this is my last video. This is my last warning to the world. The darkness will come tonight.
I've given away all of my earthly possessions to the heathens.
Yeah, this is why it has to be this September 23, yeah? Because Matthew 24:36, yeah, says, that's the day that an hour knoweth no man, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only, yeah? Right? And the Feast of Trumpets, look, you can look up there, the Feast of Trumpets, also known as Rosh Hashanah, is referred to as the day that no man knows the day or hour, because its exact start date determines the sighting of the new moon, yeah? Right? But we know now, because obviously in the future we have technology to know when they're going to see the new moon exactly, which is the 23rd, yeah? Even though it's a 2-day festival from the 22nd to the 24th, but we know it's going to be the 23rd when they see it, right? So, if you go, yeah, see 9/11, 11, if you do 1 + 1 is 2, yeah? And 2001, 2 and 1, that's 3. That's 923, yeah? That's where you get the 923 from 9/11. If you count the days from 9/11, the day that the Twin Towers happened, to the day of Rosh Hashanah, 923, the 23rd, it's 8,778 days, yeah? If you go back to Matthew 24:36 and you plus its reflection, which is 6342, you get 8,778. It wouldn't work any other year. Would not work any other year. If it was next year, the numbers would be too much. If it was then the year before, the numbers would be too much. But this year, coincidentally, the numbers exactly match. Yeah, right. And then that's that one. Right. Another way, yeah, to make this it has to be this date, yeah. If you go back here, there's I think it's 1801, yeah, the year 1801. Theologists, Bible theologists, and whatever. Remember, they didn't have no other time but to look at Bibles and things. They didn't have TVs, computers, and whatever. Yeah, so they were studying hard, right? They broke down the years from Adam to Jesus, yeah, and counted all the dates, yeah. And that worked out to 3,974 years that it says at the bottom, total calculation. Yeah, you can look this all up. So if you put 3,974 plus 2025, yeah, which the year we're in now, you get 5,999. Yeah, and if you look at the bottom, it says the 6-day creation. Yeah, the seventh day of the week of creation is seen as I can't read it now, perfect for human history, where the 6 days is work and followed by 1,000-year millennial reign, kingdom of peace. Yeah, so from the 6,000 to the 7,000. Yeah, because that's the millennial reign. Yeah, and that's how they're so from Jesus Christ, yeah, 3794 plus 2025 is 599. Right, so September the 23rd is the Hebrew New Year, because Rosh Hashanah is their new year. So they would technically be in 2026, yeah? Because it will be their year 6,000, right? This is why they're blowing the trumpets, because they know what's coming, right? And if you just like coincidentally, yeah, get Jesus's birthday from Adam to Jesus, which is the 3974, and you take away 2026, which would be their new year, yeah, you get 1948, and that's the exact day that they become a nation. Yeah, this cannot be coincidence. It cannot be. Yeah, and even more, Adam, yeah, Adam was the beginning, yeah. And God said, I'm the beginning and the end, yeah? Adam is the beginning, yeah? Adam in Hebrew, yeah, is 45, yeah? So if you do 45 times 45, which is like, you know, getting the square root of a number, yeah? Timesing it by itself is 2025. In Hebrew Gematria, 2025, which is the oldest number language, yeah, is the opening of the 7 seals year. These things cannot be made up, man. If it doesn't, you know what I mean? The numbers wouldn't work any other day, any other year. The same thing with 9/11, yeah? With 9/11, there was a building called Building 7, yeah? So there weren't no Building 3, 4, 5, 6. There was Twin Towers, Building 7, yeah? Why did they call it 7? Because 7 trumpets, 7 seals. God is, you know, the completion date of the whole world. The completion date is the year 7,000, yeah? Because there's only 7 days, and every day is of 1,000 years, yeah? So they called it 7. It had 47 floors. That building got knocked down, yeah? It wasn't knocked, I mean, you know, demolition, yeah? It was, you could see if you watch it in slow-mo, boom, 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 every floor got blown out and the thing come down. Not a plane, not a rocket, nothing else hit it, yeah? It come down on purpose for this day, yeah? Because 47 times 7 is 329, which is 923 backwards, yeah? Which is this day coming up, yeah? 9/11, the Tower 7, the Twin Towers, Building 7, everything was a ritual for this day. Remember, they paid to build it, and they destructed it on that day. And, you know, Charlie Kirk was unalived in Jerusalem time, 923 exactly.
This is heavy.
23 is where they like the pit. What if it's when the pit opens? And that's what the crack.
Yeah, maybe. Oh, you can't see this. But you know when he got pewed, the first message, yeah, was from the first post about it, yeah, from him getting done was from Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu, both at the same time, but you can't see it on here. But it was 302, yeah, on the 9th month, so it was, you know, 923 backwards again. It's all steps for this beast system that's coming for that, and they know it.
Do you know what's interesting is, even though obviously symbolism and through numbers is their plan, through this is also their weakness, that we can prepare and, you know, obviously get ready, as it were. And not necessarily to fight back, but to prepare against it, maybe.
Yeah, this is why it has to be this September 23, yeah? Because Matthew 24:36, yeah, says, that's the day that an hour knoweth no man, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only, yeah? Right? And the Feast of Trumpets, look, you can look up there, the Feast of Trumpets, also known as Rosh Hashanah, is referred to as the day that no man knows the day or hour, because its exact start date determines the sighting of the new moon, yeah? Right? But we know now, because obviously in the future we have technology to know when they're going to see the new moon exactly, which is the 23rd, yeah? Even though it's a 2-day festival from the 22nd to the 24th, but we know it's going to be the 23rd when they see it, right? So if you go, yeah, see 9/11, 11, if you do 1 + 1 is 2, yeah, and 2001, 2 and 1, that's 3. That's 923, yeah? That's where you get the 923 from 9/11. If you count the days from 9/11, the day...
The rapture is not happening today. I guarantee it. And I could back it up. Out of Jesus' mouth himself, he says, watch therefore, for you know neither the day nor the hour wherein the Son of Man cometh. And y'all know the rapture coincides with Jesus coming back again. But wait, there's more. Again, out of what some of y'all call the carpenter's mouth, but of the day and the hour knoweth no man, no, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only. And if you're in doubt, he does it again. Pay attention to verse 43 especially. But know this, that if the good man of the house had known and would watch the thief would come, he would have watched and would not have suffered his house to be broken up. And pay attention to the verse before it, because he says, watch, therefore, for ye know not what hour your Lord doth come. He's basically equating the rapture to watching for a thief to come. Like, if you knew when the thief was going to come, you'd be right there at the same time or have things set up for him at the same time, if you knew. But you don't. He says it so many times. I'll give it to you in the New International Version, in Revelation. He says, but if you do not wake up, I will come like a thief, and you will not know at what time I will come to you. Like Nas, the thief's theme continues. He says it again in verse 40 in Luke. He said, you also must be ready, because the Son of Man will come at an hour when you do not expect him. You hear thief yet again, but the day of the Lord will come like a thief. These are all different verses. The heavens will disappear with the roar, the elements will be destroyed by fire, and the earth and everything in it will be laid bare. I know it's a crazy time in the world. We got to prepare for things, but be careful to watch out for the pretend Bible readers and the make-believers. They're worse than non-believers. Always read it for yourself and don't be deceived. Once seen, it can be unseen. And in the land of the blind, the one-eyed.
It's finally happening. Today is September 23rd. It may look like an ordinary date on the calendar, but just beneath the surface of that ordinariness, a fracture has taken place. On September 22nd, the autumn equinox marked the temporary balance of light and darkness in the sky, but that balance was only on the surface. Behind it, a deeper, older, and far more radical shift has been set in motion. The frequencies of reality have begun to separate. A kind of inner selection is unfolding, not something that disappears, but something that crosses over. Today, one version of you remains behind, while another version, more awake, more alive, more real, steps forward. This is not a story of vanishing. It is the story of stepping onto another dimension by standing firmly on your own soul. While the equinox appeared to balance the scales on the surface, in the deeper layers the scales tilted, forcing you to decide which version of yourself continues. This energy is not only bringing individual transformation, it is also weighing and reshaping your surroundings. Those who once overlooked you, those who underestimated you, will begin to see you differently today. They will feel an attraction they cannot explain. This is not a show of power or dominance. It is the field itself, being rearranged. The truth you carry can no longer remain silent. But there is also a warning. In the midst of this shift, being among crowds, surrounded by their vibrations, can weaken your spiritual field. Because today, energies will mingle. Light and shadow will begin walking side by side. If the frequency of the crowd pulls you in, you may miss the resonance of the new vibration. That is why you must guard your intention, steady your breath, and keep your field clear. This is not a call to fear. It is a call to awareness. Because today, doors are opening, quietly for some, shaking violently for others. Hold your focus, trust the compass of your heart, and know that this date may be aligned to lift you into a higher awareness. Stay until the end of this video, because only at the end will the true message be revealed. What this energy is asking of you, what step you must take, and why this date may define your destiny. If you miss it, you may pass over one of the most critical turning points of your life without even realizing it. But if you stay and listen, you will see how this crossing can be turned in your favor. And if this frequency has already touched your heart, write 777 in the comments so the entire universe knows you are among those who walk through this new doorway. If you thought you were awake before, today makes it clear. You've only been standing at the entrance. What happened on September 23rd is not another echo of past awakenings, not a recycling of old lessons. This is sharper, heavier, and far less forgiving. The earlier awakening cracked open your sight just enough to make you curious, to let you taste the possibility of more. But this one, it strips away the scaffolding entirely. This rapture isn't about vanishing into thin air. It's about watching your old life dissolve while the truer self takes its first full breath. The ground you once trusted has been pulled apart, and no matter how tightly you cling, the architecture of your old world can't carry you anymore. The safety nets you've been leaning on are not being repaired. They're being burned away. What's happening now is not a rehearsal. It's the upgrade your soul resisted but secretly prayed for. Expect clarity that refuses to be negotiated. That job you tolerated, that relationship you excused, that environment you convinced yourself was fine, today it becomes unbearable. The air itself feels thinner inside situations that no longer match your vibration. And while it may not arrive as a thunderclap, the pressure will be unrelenting. Every day after this point will push you harder into alignment, as if the universe itself no longer has patience for delay. The equinox did not just balance day and night. It rearranged the way reality responds to you. Where once your voice was ignored, you will notice people pausing, remembering, replaying things you've said. Where you were invisible, suddenly there's weight in your presence. But understand, this shift doesn't come without cost. To hold this new position, you must release what belonged to the old frequency. You cannot keep both. You cannot walk in two timelines. This is where the real pressure begins. Those who try to hold on to their former comfort while reaching for the new will feel as if they are suffocating between two worlds. It's like trying to inhale in one atmosphere while exhaling.
Some of you don't remember this, but back in 2017, there was already a rumor about September 23rd. A lot of people were pointing at the alignments in the stars and saying that it pointed at Revelations chapter 12. They swore that the woman represented by Virgo, who would be clothed with the sun, would have the moon at her feet, and that she would be giving birth to Jupiter. And you want to know what happened? Not jack crap. Uh-oh, here we are in 2025 and they running the same play again, the same day. Our guy, they didn't even change the day. This is the second time they've done this the first year of Donald Trump's presidency. But God already...
Happy Rapture Day! Today's the day that we get to go see Jesus, because all those people had visions and they had dreams and God spoke to them. Oh, so it's so exciting. But if it doesn't happen, that means they were all wrong. Do you think they'll admit it? Happy Rapture Day!
I have tried to record this video like 10.
Rapture trip tips. I recommend you go out and buy a couple fresh packs of undies to wear for the next month.
I just saw this video of a woman and she's crying. I'm gonna put this down. She's crying because the rapture is tomorrow and she's thinking about like her kids and stuff. And it really got me thinking too, is just like,
The prophecy everyone is talking about, September 23rd, 2025. To most people, it's just another date on the calendar, another Tuesday. But to others, this date represents something extraordinary. You will be shocked when you find out 5 reasons everyone is talking about September 23rd. Sign number 1. The 7,000-year prophetic clock is ticking. Many believe in this prophecy because the September 23rd convergence isn't happening in a prophetic vacuum. It's occurring at what may be the most significant moment in the 7,000-year timeline that biblical scholars believe governs all of human existence. Let me show you the pattern that's been hidden in plain sight since the very first chapter of the Bible. Genesis tells us that God created the world in 6 days and rested on the 7th. Most people read this as a simple account of creation week. But what if it's also a prophetic template for all of human history? The key to understanding this pattern comes from 2 Peter 3:8. But, beloved, do not forget this one thing, that with the Lord 1 day is as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years as 1 day. If each day of creation represents a 1,000-year epoch of human history, then the entire span of human civilization follows a precise 7,000-year pattern. 6,000 years of human labor, struggle, and rebellion against God. 1,000 years of divine rest under Christ's perfect rule. This isn't just modern speculation. Irenaeus, one of the most influential church fathers of the 2nd century, declared in his work, Against Heresies, "For in as many days as this world was made, in so many thousand years."
Some people are saying that rapture will happen on September 23rd, 2025 because of the Feast of Trumpets. Sounds convincing, right? Trumpets, end times, dates on the calendar, but that's not actually biblical. So why people are saying that the September 23rd is going to be the time when the rapture will happen? Well, every year people connect the Feast of the Tabernacles with the rapture because of the verses like the trumpet of God in 1 Thessalonians chapter 4. But here's the problem. They say the same thing in 2017, 2020, 2023, and nothing happened. Date setting keeps recycling. You must understand this about the Jewish feast. They're actually powerful prophetic pictures. The Passover was Christ crucified, first fruits, his resurrection, Pentecost was when the Spirit was poured out, and there's 3 more feasts that are coming, and it's the Feast of Trumpets, Atonement, and Tabernacle. Now they do point to Christ, and they do point to God's redemptive plan. Trumpets is his second coming. The rapture of the church, which I believe is the same event. Also, the atonement is when Israel will repent and acknowledge Jesus as their Messiah. Tabernacles is when Christ will dwell, God will dwell with his people on earth in the millennial reign. So while they do point to Christ, they actually don't give us an exact calendar date for his return. Here is why September 23rd is not it. Jesus said in Matthew 24, verse 36, that no one knows the day or the hour. Paul in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 verse 3 talked about the Antichrist being revealed first before the second coming of Christ. And for those of you who watched my previous videos, you know that I believe, and there's a lot of scriptural evidence, that the rapture of the church and the coming of Jesus is the same event. So if somebody tells you that there's an exact date for the rapture of the church, they're actually going against Jesus himself and against the biblical eschatology. How should we live? So instead of guessing dates, the Bible tells us to win souls. The Bible tells us to live ready, because there's a high chance you might meet the Lord before he comes, because people die every single day. We ought to live holy. We ought to be watchful and expectant, and we ought to be steadfast in the work of the Lord. So will rapture happen on September 23rd, 2025? No one knows.
Guys, the rapture is happening this September 23rd.
This is why everybody thinks that tomorrow or Wednesday will be the end of the world. So this South African pastor had a vision and a dream. He had a dream where God appeared to him and told him that he is coming soon. In some of his visions, he could hear the sound of the 4 trumpets. He relates this to the book of Revelations, where trumpets are being heard or sounded before the end of the world. And people believe this to be real because the dates September 23rd and 24th align with the Jewish New Year, which some Christians associate with the end of time prophecy. Now in his visions, if this all comes true, he warns of a demon that will come down just like in the movie This Is the End, chase and consume the remaining humans that have not been raptured. So that's all of you sinners. The pastor also mentioned these dates specifically were given to him by Jesus and God during his visions and dreams to warn all of us to prepare to be raptured. So if you haven't asked God for forgiveness for your sins, probably now's a good time to do it. But what do you guys think about this? This is why everybody thinks that tomorrow or Wednesday.
If you're not ready for the rapture tomorrow, then I don't know what to tell you, because we've been warning you people for a while now. Last night I was able to get rid of my truck. I sold it for $5,000. I have signed over my house to family that I know they don't go to church, so I figured I would leave it to them. My life savings is probably around $60,000. That's what I have in my savings right now.
If you're watching this video, then you're one of the lucky few that was not raptured to heaven. You see, people have been speculating for months now that the rapture is going to occur on September 23rd. But forget that. Let's see what the Bible truly says, because the Bible is our truth. You see, in Matthew chapter 24, verse 36, the Word of God says, "However, no one knows the day or hour when these things will happen, not even the angels in heaven or the Son himself. Only the Father knows." So I ask you this question. If only the Father knows, then how can you or others create a date of when the rapture will occur if only the Father knows? You see, it's important that we read our Bibles, that we learn and say the things.
Listen, is anybody checking up on the Americans? I think they're losing the plot. They are convinced, I don't know if you guys have seen it, they are convinced that a rapture is going to happen on the 23rd of September. The sky is going to open up and they're going to go zoop into heaven. You guys need to start watching Scooby-Doo because these conspiracies are fucking crazy. I'm still trying to figure out how my Hoover collects dirt off the floor, and you guys are convinced that the sky is going to open up and select you as an individual and go zoop your big body, zoop into heaven. These people are selling their houses, their cars and everything. I mean, I don't know how far the dollars are going to get you once you sell it. I don't think heaven has a currency, but I can look after your money on the terms that if you don't go, or if you do decide to come back, that you're not entitled to your money back. I'm sorry, but you guys are fucking nuts, mate. Listen, the least of my worries would be something fucking collecting me from the sky, right? You need to be concerned about your well-being, mate. And also, why is it just America? Is that the only place they could put in on the sat-nav? America.
No, we will not get another warning, as the world not only has only a few days left on the clock, but God is already here, and repenting now is way too late. People were terrified after South African pastor Joshua Malakela warned of an eerie omen to happen on September 23rd. And when we hear the Jewish Feast of the Trumpets play, there will be no corner on earth you can hide, citing verses from Matthew 24:6-7 and Mark 13:7-8 that speaks of wars, rumors of wars, nation rising against nations, kingdoms against kingdoms, alongside famine and earthquakes, and people have already started preparing for it. Haunting videos show people throwing out their clothes, selling their homes and cars, quitting their jobs, saying they will no longer need their belongings very soon, to many developing mass hysteria, laughing and rejoicing, saying they will finally get to be with the ones they love. With many religious experts giving instructions on what to do when getting raptured, what signs to look for, and many others yelling they wish it could come faster. However, other religious experts cite the Bible actually tells us we won't know the actual rapture date, and this pastor might just want attention. No, we will not get another.
To my fellow Christians, no, you're not crazy. The rapture is very likely happening tomorrow. And I know this because tomorrow is September 23rd, and 23 is 2 and 3. Now, 2 plus 3 equals 5. And I go to the gym around 5 or 6 days out of the week, and 666 is, the sign of the devil.
Don't forget to unlock your phone. If you are a
So I just got done watching this brother's beautiful testimony of his confirmations of September 23rd, 24th rapture. He got 3 confirmations. Beautiful. Recommend you go and watch them. God's Eye View. Norwegian fella. But I just want to echo something that he mentioned that absolutely blew my mind away. And when I say blew my mind away, like to smithereen, he mentioned how when Jesus had risen, the first that were to see him were the women. And the women went and told the disciples, but the disciples did not believe. God did not choose the men of that day as the first to see the resurrection of his son. He chose women who were considered foolish in that time. God chose the weak and the foolish to bring back a report about the resurrection of his son to the men of that day. And the men did not believe them. The disciples did not believe. And you know what? Jesus rebuked them. And the exact same thing is happening with this rapture, September 23rd to the 24th. God is choosing the weak and the foolish to announce the rapture that is going to happen in these next 24 to 48 hours. He hasn't chosen the wise. He didn't choose the scholars, the big pastors, those with the big platforms. No, he chose humble men, women, children, elderly, and many are not believing us. Many, in fact, are calling us foolish. They're saying our testimony is foolish, and we are deceived. And I bet that's what they said to the women. You're deceived. You're being deceived. You didn't see Jesus rise from the dead. You're crazy. You're misled. Jesus didn't rise from the dead. You're in spiritual psychosis. You're just being emotional. It's been a rough
A man recorded his car being taken away after he sold it because he says he doesn't need it anymore. A mother said that her daughter spoke in tongues, talking about the new moon. Another woman bought a bunch of Bibles and wrote notes in them to be left around for people to find after the supposed rapture that is on Tuesday, September 23rd. We need to talk about this. A concept that was built in the 1800s is causing people to sell their cars and prep for this thing that is not going to happen. And when it doesn't happen, the amount of people that are going to turn around and say, no, it wasn't that day. See, you misinterpreted it. It's actually this day. Or they're going to say it was a joke. On a more serious note, this is an example of mass suicidal ideation. These people are posting online that they are excited to die. They're prepping and planning and smiling about leaving this earth. And with social media making that idea 2 and 3 times more potent because you're creating those echo chambers and you're seeing it so much that you start to believe it. And the worst part about this is you're going to see some family annihilators. There are going to be people who think that they have to jumpstart the rapture and take themselves and possibly their family with them. This goes beyond the declining literacy rates and poor education in the U.S. because this speaks more to the fact that things are getting worse in the U.S. and as a whole, and people are feeling such a need to escape. Rather than face it and fight it and fix it, they feel they need to escape so much that they fall into religious psychosis and feel comfortable with dying. And the problem with this is people in their orbit are going to get affected. And these are people who may not have even
Simpson predicted total blackout in America on September 23rd. Without warning, every light across the country blinked out. Houses went silent, televisions went black, and cell phones died in people's hands. At first, people thought it was just a blackout. But when nothing turned back on, they began to panic. Banks were useless. Cash machines refused to work. People banged on the screens with their fists. But the glow would not return. Everyone wonders if rapture is going to happen. Pastors tells everyone that the Bible had warned of this. 3 days of darkness before the Jesus. Traffic lights turned to dead glass. Cars slammed into each other in the darkness. Sirens never came. The hospitals shook in chaos. Patients gasped for air, then slipped away. Nurses screamed powerless to save them. Churches filled with trembling people holding candles. Some fell to their knees, begging for forgiveness. What do you think of this prediction? Simpson...
Guys, what's going on? There are those guys that were predicting about the rapture thing happening on 23rd of September. So here in Australia, it's already 23 September. So I was sleeping. It's 3 a.m. at the moment. So I was sleeping and I heard some noise and I woke up, I got out of the house and I checked. I saw a lot of light in the sky.
They say the rapture is trending because September 23rd is the date. Date of the trumpets, date of the return, date of the disappearance. My neighbor Stuart Bathwater, he doesn't watch TikTok, he doesn't see the memes, doesn't hear the pastors shouting. Hell, Stuart don't even have any eyes or ears. All he has left is the future. And when I asked him about September 23rd, he laughed, not with joy, with dread. He said, the day isn't about ascension, it's about separation. The sky will not open to pull the faithful upward. It'll close tighter and tighter than ever on those who never ask the right questions. The viral videos talk about visions, about earthquakes, about blood moons. Stewart doesn't argue with them. He only says the trumpet you fear has already sounded. The world just didn't recognize the note. And here's the part that chills me. He told me he only answers questions. He never volunteers. He never explains. He only responds. So I'll ask you, if September 23rd really is the day, what's the question you're brave enough to ask Stewart before?
Hey, I can't believe that I actually have to address this, but just to help everybody out, because I've been seeing a lot of videos where people are freaking out for some reason.
And one day, the very last person who remembers you will die too.
It happened. Today, the world quietly split in two, and nobody noticed. September 22nd is supposed to be the autumn equinox, light and dark in perfect balance. And while it is, that's only the surface, because something else is happening right now, something far more dramatic, far more unsettling, and most people will never realize they lived through it. The equinox is already spiritually powerful on its own, a major turning point in energy. But this one isn't alone. It's tied to something much bigger, an event many of us have quietly sensed, waited for. You have no idea what's about to take place. The autumn equinox has triggered a rapture, but this rapture isn't about disappearing. It's about crossing over. Imagine it like this. One version of you gets left behind, and another version steps forward, more awake, more alive, more real than ever before. The equinox didn't just balance the scales, it tilted them, forcing you to choose which version of yourself continues past this point. And here's the twist. This shift doesn't just affect you. It's reshaping the people around you, the world you walk in, the very reality you wake up to tomorrow morning. Most chosen ones have awaited a long time for a moment like this, and now it's here. The people who once dismissed you will find themselves unable to ignore you now. The equinox didn't just balance light and dark, it shifted spiritual authority. For years, chosen ones were overlooked, mocked, or silenced. Today marks the point where that invisibility starts to break. The same people who turn their backs will feel a pull they can't explain, finding themselves drawn to your presence, watching what you do, and paying attention in ways they never did before. This isn't about speaking louder or forcing recognition. It's about reality itself, beginning to tilt toward you. The equinox energy has reset the weight of things. Those who were ignored are now undeniable. Those who carried truth in silence suddenly feel the world bending to meet them. It begins subtly. A person who once disregarded you suddenly remembers something you said and treats it as wisdom. Someone who once looked down on you now pauses when you speak, unable to brush it aside. The shift is almost eerie because you didn't change your effort. The field around you changed its response. The return of presence is not a gift, it's a correction. The equinox has torn away the layers that muffled chosen ones, and what remains is sharp, clear, and unmissable. From this point forward, your energy doesn't just enter a room, it rearranges it. And for those who once thought you were insignificant, the realization will be uncomfortable, because they are now faced with a truth they can no longer avoid. The silence around you is breaking. The weight of your presence is back, and this time, there is no turning it off. If you thought you were awake before, today proves you've only seen the preview. This equinox is not a repeat of an old awakening. It's a deeper, more ruthless unmasking. The first wake-up cracked the surface. It gave you glimpses, curiosity, a taste for more. The second awakening shatters the foundation beneath those glimpses. It strips out the safety nets you've been clinging to and forces a reconfiguration at a scale that demands irreversible change. This is not a rerun. This is the upgrade your soul didn't ask for, but badly needed. Expect clarity that refuses to be negotiated. Where you once tolerated half-truths, you'll now feel an abrasive discomfort that pushes you to act or walk away. Relationships that were maintained by convenience will no longer fit the sharper edges of who you are becoming. Jobs and roles that dulled you will feel intolerably small. It won't be theatrical overnight. It will be persistent and unmistakable. A steady pressure toward truth that accelerates decision-making and exposes what was merely comfortable versus what is actually aligned. This awakening is anatomical. It reaches into the architecture of how you make choices. Your priorities reorder themselves not by theory, but by immediate felt sense. What feels light and what feels untenable. Synchronicities intensify in practical ways, not just spiritual poetry, signs, meetings, and opportunities align with an almost surgical precision for those who act. The second awakening doesn't hand you answers as much as it removes everything that made old answers plausible, so you are forced to build from a truer place. There's risk and reward in that rupture. For some, it will feel like losing parts of life they once thought secure. For others, it will feel like being given permission to become someone the old world cannot hold. The choice isn't theological, it's existential. Will you allow the new architecture to form, even if it costs you certainty? Today makes that question unavoidable. It happened. Today, the world quietly split in two, and nobody noticed. September 22nd is supposed to be the autumn equinox, light and dark in perfect balance. And while it is, that's only the surface, because something else is happening right now. Something far more dramatic, far more unsettling, and most people will never realize they lived through it. The equinox is already spiritually powerful on its own, a major turning point in energy. But this one isn't alone. It's tied to something much bigger, an event many of us have quietly sensed, waited for. You have no idea what's about to take place. The autumn equinox is...
So the rapture's happening tonight at midnight, or in the middle of the night, sometime 2, 3 in the morning, I don't know. And I just wanted to talk to you guys and let you know that if you're still here, when you wake up in the morning with all of your possessions that you have, it's because you weren't raptured. And if you're wondering, well, why wasn't I raptured? Like, I've been a good, God-fearing Christian. There's a couple of reasons why, and maybe at the next rapture you'll have your lucky shot, but mainly it's because you voted for Donald Trump. If you voted for Donald Trump, you're definitely not getting raptured. Just the amount of bigotry and hatred and, by the way, if you were very upset with Charlie Kirk's death, you're not getting raptured if you were upset by that death. If you praise the fact that he now has a day of remembrance, you're not getting raptured. I'm sorry. If you've done anything to celebrate the racism in our country or to say that it doesn't exist, you're not getting raptured. I'm sorry. See, the Bible was very clear. Actually, that's not true. I've never read it. I don't really know. But I think the Bible is very clear on, hey, you need to be a good person and you need to look out for other people, including the immigrants. I think it says something specifically about the immigrants. I don't know. Someone told me it did. I believe him, because I think if Jesus was real, he would have been a pretty nice guy, considering he wanted to give his own life up so you could have a life full of sin. But anyway, if you're still here with us tomorrow, there's some things you can do. You can repent for your sins. You can go look out for your actual neighbors. You can cut ties with your MAGA friends and no longer be a loyalist to a racist or a bigot or a xenophobe.
Did you see what the head of FBI said about Charlie Kirk?
No. To my friend Charlie Kirk, rest now, brother. We have the watch, and I'll see you in Valhalla.
What's Valhalla?
Valhalla is a place where warriors go in heaven.
Okay.
So that's like warriors' heaven.
Yeah.
But there's a crazy theory that dropped because the shooter of the Charlie Kirk shooting, there's a picture of him in his bedroom on his computer screen.
Whoa.
There's a wallpaper of Goat Island.
What's
all right?
Goat Island?
It's a place, I think, somewhere in Europe.
Yeah.
But anyways, in Goat Island, there's a coffee shop called Valhalla.
Oh, wait.
Yeah. Now check this out. Check this out.
In Greenland?
Yeah.
But before continuing, I wanted to warn you guys. Phones were being spied on by a blue radio app. Click on this icon, then on more. If you see it, delete it immediately.
In the last few months,
Yeah.
I think when the Trump administration started, they were really pushing to get Greenland. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
They want to control it.
Yeah.
And they want to put like